And we've only dipped down to level 3 now, it looks like twice. And another win. Can't complain about that. And let's see, we're going to win this one. 26. Nah. A loss. You can't win them all. And 12. Yes, we got it. All right. Hello, Wheel Masters, and welcome back to Mastering the Wheel. Today, we're on day 22 of our bankroll building challenge, and we've got 21 consecutive wins behind us. So we're having a great run so far, and hopefully we can keep up this momentum and get another win under our belt today. So let's see what happens. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, what I'm going to be using is my favorite strategy, Hottest 18. And basically, it's where I target the 18 numbers that have been hitting higher than their statistical average, and I use my program Betmaster to help me do that. It's able to identify the heat of the table in real time. That way I can make real-time decisions and help me identify, well, what's been active or more active than usual, and place my bets there. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And also I'm going to be using a trigger. My favorite trigger to use is one that I call system failure. And that means basically we're going to wait for the progression to fail virtually in the background before we even place a real dollar on the table. And I've found that system, or that particular trigger, to be extremely helpful in the way that it's a fairly rare event for this trigger to, or for the system to fail. It's going to happen on average, mathematically speaking, 1 every 216 spins. So fairly rare event, and so for that event to happen consecutively back to back is even more rare. So that's what we're banking on, and that's the whole premise behind this system failure idea. So that's the trigger I'm going to be using, but there's actually another one also that I'm going to be thinking about using, because when we're sitting here waiting for the system to fail, I'm going to be watching that heat map. And what I found is that when that heat map becomes overactive, and what I mean by overactive is when there's more than 12 red numbers. 12 red numbers is what I'll see on average. And when there are more than 12 red numbers, typically the system just doesn't want to seem to fail when it's in that state of heat. So it seems to be like a good time to enter the game and get my wins in and then leave. So I'm also going to be keeping my eye out for that. So one of two triggers, either the system will fail or the heat map will be overactive. Now we can see right now we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 numbers on there. 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 red numbers. So we're coming in at an already hot table. So if this continues, then I just might jump in and start playing, but we'll see how long this heat is sustained for. Now, that said, it could take a while before I do jump in or before the trigger fires. So while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video. And while I'm speeding up the video and we're waiting for the trigger, I'm going to play a song from the Betmaster soundtrack. The song I'm going to play today is called When the Lights Came On. And I wrote this song when I had my aha moment when it comes to how to look at roulette and how I should change my approach to the game. And the approach that I take to the game today is very different than I took back then. And this song was written around, like I said, that aha moment. So enjoy the music, and I will see you guys back here as soon as that trigger fires.
Heaven used to watch the wheel like a preacher in the pew, looking for redemption in the colors as they flew. Every paycheck hit the table, every weekend on repeat. He was chasing little flashes like a fool chasing heat. Friends said it's just bad luck, and he swore they were right. But every time he got ahead, roulette took another bite. He'd swear to God, I'll stop after this, then spin just one more, and the wheel would laugh softly as it swallowed him to the floor. He wasn't greedy, he was hungry, he wasn't stupid, he was blind, he didn't want to be the loser, he just didn't see the signs. He thought the game was random, he thought his fate was sealed, he thought the house was heaven till the numbers were revealed. And then the lights came on like a storm across the screen. Master in the shadows whispered patterns in between. Not a prayer to the wheel, not a gamble on a dream, just the truth beneath the chaos. Heaven finally saw the scheme, and when the lights came on, he was no longer prey, no more spinning out of fear. He was haunting them instead. Started slow, just a test, just a night to look and learn. OCRIs on every pixel, mapping out the twist and turn. Absence wasn't failure, it was weakness in disguise. Cold streaks weren't curses, they were signals in the wild. He'd sit back in the darkness, multi-table screens alive, watching data form a heartbeat, watching colors lose their pride. No emotion in the cursor, no superstition in the mind. He wasn't hoping for a miracle, he was harvesting the signs. He thought the game was chaos, he thought that luck was fate, he thought roulette was sovereign. Now he knows it can be tamed. And then the lights came on like a storm across the screen. Bed master in the shadows whispered patterns in between. Not a prayer to the wheel, not a gamble on a dream, just the truth beneath the chaos. Evan finally saw the scheme. He doesn't chase the colors, he just watches how they bleed. Roulette ain't a god, now it's a field he's learned to read. There's a moment when you realize you've been kneeling to the wrong king, and the crown you've been begging for is never built for suffering. You don't need to pray to fortune, you just learn the way it breathes. And the night that once consumed you becomes a garden in the weeds. 'Cause when the lights came on, he wasn't just another pawn. He was calm, he was patient, he was hunter, he was dawn. No more tears for lost spins, no more begging fate to bend. Bed master was the answer and roulette was the amend. 'Cause when the lights came on, he stood taller than the fear. Roulette didn't break him, it just taught him how to steer.
Okay, guys, so I'm just going to jump right in here because we've had a sustained level of heat for a while. We've got 14 red numbers on the heat map for the last 14 spins, so that's really good. So I'm just going to go ahead and deactivate this trigger, and we'll get everything set up to go here. Once the trigger is deactivated, it will start placing the bets automatically as soon as that next spin result is detected. We don't need custom clicks anymore. Okay, everything's set up, and here we go. As soon as the spin result is detected, it will start placing bets. And there we go. We're off. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'll talk more about Betmaster. If you're new to the channel, so Betmaster is the most powerful roulette tool on the internet right now, and it can do things that most tools can't. It can give you a perspective of the wheel that is unlike no other. Like, for example, the way we're looking at the heat map right now, we can make decisions in real time based on what we see. And what I find when I'm looking at this heat map is that when the numbers are, we just got our first win, very good, off to a nice start. When the heat map shows me certain things, there are events that are either likely or less likely to happen. And like I was explaining in the beginning, when I find that there's more than 12 red numbers on that heat map, the system failing seems to just not really happen. It has happened. It's not that it's impossible for it to happen. I just find, on average, it's less likely to when that condition is met. And then on the flip side, when the heat map has less than 12 red numbers, typically below 10, in fact, the system seems to be more likely to fail because when there's a cooler table, that's when I typically see the system fail. In fact, there was a great example of that in the last video that I produced. Was there were 9 red numbers on the wheel, and the system failed. And I even called it in the video because I always explain this at the beginning of the video about the triggers and the difference between an overheated or an underheated heat map. And yeah, so in the last video, in 9 spins, in with only 9 red numbers on the wheel, it failed. And I typically see that. Now I've seen it go down to like 8, 7 red numbers and then not fail and come back up to 13 red numbers again. I see that too. But typically, what I'm saying is when it fails, it's typically below 10 red numbers, right? So if I were to choose a moment to come in and start playing, I wouldn't want to join the game if my heat map was showing me that there were only 9 or 8 red numbers, because typically it fails when those conditions are met. Not always, but just like I'm saying, on average, right? So, and that's the whole approach that I really take to this game is I base my decisions on what I see on average, because like that song that I played while we sped up the video, When the Lights Came On. So I wrote that song because when I realized that roulette was so much more than just a game of random, it's also a game of probabilities, right? Odds. And if like we say, if something has the odds of happening, chances are it's going to happen, and that is so true. And so when you understand that something is going to happen, on its, within its expected probability, on average, then you can almost predict what's going to happen. Now, there's no way we can predict the next spin or what's going to happen next. That's impossible to do. But what I'm saying is, like this system, for example, has an average failure rate of 1 in 216 spins. That's on average. Now, it can fail, twice within 100 spins, or it can go 400 or 500 spins without failing. It can go either way, but on average, over enough spins, you're going to see that it did fail. In fact, 1 every 216 spins. So knowing that, you can mitigate some of your risk by saying, okay, well, if it's going to fail on this average, then I should give myself a smaller window to operate in, right? Obviously you don't want to stay for 200 spins, but often people stay for longer than they should, and that's why bankrolls go lost. Whereas if you don't stay for as long, then you can mitigate some of that risk. And so what I do is I take 20% of my overall risk. So the risk is 216 spins on average. So 20% of that is 43 spins. So I don't stay for any longer than, I actually round that down to 40 spins. I don't stay for any longer than 40 spins. And what I've learned is that when you stay for, well, when you have, let's say, 2 more wins to get, for example. So I like to get 10% of my bankroll, right? That's typically what people like to do, is get 10%. And if I'm going for 10%, that's all great, and it's nice to hit that. But you see, I can usually hit that 10%, for example, within 25 or 30 spins, right across the board on average. If it takes me 35, 38 spins to get that 10%, it's already starting to take me longer than it should. So I know this already, right? And if it takes you longer than it should, that means that you're not hitting your numbers as frequently for whatever reason. You've had better days. So why stick around on a bad day if you don't have to? And so a good sign of a bad day is, like, if I'm at spin 35, I still have 2 wins left to get to my financial target. And I'm not going to make it. I only have 5 spins left in my budget, right? I'm supposed to stop at 40 spins. It's taken me 35 to get to this point. I'm still 2 wins away from my financial target. Things are clearly not going my way. So I get that information from Betmaster, and I can see how badly I'm doing. I can see my spin count. I can see my hit average, and chances are, if I'm at spin 35 and I've still got 2 wins left to go, I'm hitting somewhere around 35%, way below average. Not the best day. So the best move to do in this situation is walk away, save your bankroll, and come back another day when you're probably going to have a higher hit rate, right? For whatever reason, you weren't hitting your numbers. Could be random, could be dealer bias shifting, whatever the reason. It's just not your day. So this is one way of mitigating your risk, is knowing when to leave and understanding what happens to you on average in your system, right? And so when you track these sort of metrics, you get a feel for what should be happening. And when you fall far enough outside of what should be happening, you know that if it smells bad, it probably is. And, it's better to leave while it's bad before it goes from bad to worse. Does that make sense? So that's how I'm able to mitigate some of my risk. And if you want to learn about my whole philosophy on how I approach roulette, I wrote some articles. They're on my website at www.betmaster-data.com. And the first article basically helps you look at roulette through the lens of probability. And just so like when we think of roulette and think of it as probability, we're like, okay, well, yeah, we know that, right? It's probability. Every spin is independent and it has a chance of 2.7% coming up. Sure. But zoom out a little bit and look at probability through a different lens. And for example, we know that every spin is independent of the last, and nothing that happened in the last spin will predict what's going to happen on the next spin. We get that. But what about your events, right? We can look at events through the same lens. So, for example, each number has a chance in 1 in 37 of coming up. And so when the number 1 comes up, the chances of it coming up again are still 1 in 37. But if the number 1 just came up and you were to bet on it again, what are the chances of you hitting that bet? What are the chances of you hitting that bet anyways? It's always going to be 1 in 37. But if you and I are both betting, let's say from scratch, we've seen no spins yet, you're going to bet that the 1 is going to come up once, and I'm going to bet that the 1 is going to come up 2 consecutive times. Who's going to win more over time? Well, the person betting on the 1 coming up once, because the chances of it coming up twice consecutively are naturally less, right? Because of compound probabilities. So if you zoom out and think about events in the same way, like this system has a chance of failing 1 in 216 spins. So that's an event. And on average, 1 every 216 spins, this system will fail in the same way that every number has a 1 in 20 or 1 in 37 spin event of happening, or 2.7%. And that will happen, it's random in the way that the distribution cannot be predicted. You can't know if the 1 is going to come up 4 times in the next 30 spins or not come at all for the next 100 spins or 200 spins. But if you look at a 1,000 spin sample, you'll see that, in fact, the one of the numbers, each of the numbers did come up at the rate that they were expected, 2.7%. So your systems are exactly the same way. And if a system failed just now, right, because that's one of the targets or one of the triggers that I use for this system, if the system just failed right now, the chances of it failing again are slim, less likely, right? And that's the whole premise to my approach to roulette. So the first article helps you look at roulette through the lens of probability. The second article really goes into depth on how I think about structuring my strategies. And it all comes down to when you're building a progression, how much of the wheel are you covering? How deep does your strategy go? And what is your recovery rate like? Are you martingaling it? Are you tripling your bet? Are you using a Fibonacci? Are you staying at the same level for multiple spins to try to get back into session profit? So it talks about how to structure building a strategy so that it's more mathematically predictable. And so that's the second article. And then the third article is on bankroll management, which all three of these put together create a very robust system on how you can approach roulette. And it'll change the way you approach it, and I think mitigate some of the risk that most people take because they just don't understand everything about the game, because there's so much more to this game than the fact that it is a random game. As I keep on reiterating, we can't predict the next spin. That's impossible. There's no tool or data that can do that. But when you understand the game through the lens of probabilities, then you can use that information to mitigate some of your risk. Not eliminate, because in the end it's still gambling and there's still risk involved. But you take some of the random out of it, right? You kind of understand when and why things are happening, and you can mitigate your risk that way. That's all. Just a different approach to the game. And yeah, so check out those articles, www.betmaster-data.com. And And we're doing really well. As I've been talking along here, guys, I just noticed, we've got 9 wins, 7 losses. So we're, hitting, higher than 50%. We're at a 56.2% win rate. And we've only dipped down to level 3 now, it looks like twice. So far, a really good session. And another win. Can't complain about that. So 10. So we've just got 4 more wins to go, and then we can put this in the bag. So hopefully we get another win here, guys. I don't want to speak too soon. Of course, anything can happen. I've had 1 win to go, and everything lines up right. And that's another thing too, guys. Like, you can do everything right and still end up in a position where you take a loss. And that's part of variance, and it can't be avoided completely. Losses are going to happen, and they are, for the most part, losses are unavoidable. There's no way to eliminate risk. That's impossible. But mitigating some of it, I have found is possible by using some of the techniques that I use. So, but in the end, you never want to never play with money that you can't afford to lose. It's not recommended, obviously, and only play at trusted casinos because you want to make sure that you're getting paid out and that your game is fair, right? Not fun to find out that you're being ripped off, or that when you want to make a withdrawal, your money is not coming to you for whatever reason they give you, right? So, all right, 3 more wins to go. Yeah, and if you guys like what you see with Betmaster here, you can check it out. You can get Betmaster at the website, again, www.betmaster-data.com, and you can download the program right from there and start using it today if you want. There's also, so I'll leave that link in the description below, and there's also going to be a link to I'll leave the link to the Roulette Lab so you can check out those articles, and to our Discord. You can join our community. There's we have a live public chat. Everybody's welcome, and we've got a lot of Betmaster members there. You can see how people are using the program, what they're saying about it, and come check it out, see what's going on. We'd love to have you join the community. And it could be the first step to you, checking out Betmaster. And of course, if you have any questions, by all means, put them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the program or about my approach to roulette. I'm happy to answer all questions. I do answer everybody. And that was another win, and we're on 12 now. And 2 more wins to go, guys. This is, so far, this is a very smooth session. I wish they would all go this nicely. We haven't gone deeper than level 3, and we're at a 60% hit rate. And yeah, that's, 12 wins, 8 losses. What's the heat like? Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 red numbers on the table. So it's cooled down a bit. We're right in the range of average now. This is typically what I'll see at any given time, 12 red numbers. And let's see, we're going to win this one. 26. No, a loss. You can't win them all. But still doing very well. And if we win this session, this is going to be 22 consecutive wins, guys. So, what a great run so far. 8 more. Well, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. Maybe I should wait till the end of the video. But, if we win this one, 8 more, and we will have tripled our bankroll from the start. Don't forget, we started with a modest $230. Well, actually, so the casino account had just over $300 in it, but the risk here is $230, and we built that up to now. We're at almost $900. So it's been a good run, and there we go. There's another win. So we are down to our last needed win right now. We're hitting at 59.1%. Yeah. I wish I knew when sessions were going to go this well. I would just jump in then. All right, let's go. Can we do it in one spin? And 12. Yes, we got it. All right. Guys, that's it. 22 consecutive wins in a row, and that wraps up this session. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and what you see going on here. This is nothing short of impressive, if you ask me. So I hope that you guys did enjoy, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It does help out the channel a great deal. So thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.
It's not luck, it's math. The count, watch the pressure build, then pounce. Same wheel spin, same house game, but knowledge shifts, who feels the pain? Bedmaster on, I don't guess tonight. I wait for the edge, then strike it right. They call it chance, I call it proof. Numbers don't lie, the math goes through. Yeah, I seen 10 reds hit back to back. Crowd goes wild, think black's on track, but streaks don't owe you nothing, man. Wheel don't care about your plan.